Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cypher Sleeping Forest. My name is Fernando, and today we'll be trying to make your week a little bit better, help analyze what's been going on in the markets these last 2 weeks. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of FUD going on. So let's try and demystify the with data and some charts. To start off, I wanted to get into seeing where we're at as a whole in the world. Currently, we have about 7.9 billion people, and that's a lot of people. And what's crazy is that a lot of people don't understand how early we still are with the technology. So here's a adoptions curve by Willy Woo. You can check him out on Twitter. Really cool. Um, so he said in January 2021 we had about 135 million Bitcoin users. Right now it's probably more. Markets went up, markets went down, and now we don't know which way it's gonna go. But hopefully this data helps us out to see the long-term vision that we may have. Let's uh, let's go over it. So the world population, we just checked it out. There's about 7.9 billion people. Bitcoin users is about, let's say, 150 million. It's probably a little bit more, but around there currently. So it's not a bad time if you're looking for uh, a way to get into something early. As you can tell here, the internet, it had 120 million users back in 1997, and now it's over 2 billion. Hasn't reached everybody in the world yet, but hopefully with technology improving, and I believe Elon Musk lower atmosphere satellites, that can be achieved. That way we don't have to place all these wires on third world countries that are still developing, and it just gets a lot of the hassle out and makes it more cost effective. So hopefully that works out. But as you can tell, here's kind of like the curve of how technology progresses, and the adaptation for it, adaptation. So here's the household uses of technology from 1860 to 2019. As you can tell, from the left to the right, as we get closer to, I guess, current day, it's easier to adopt. And that's something to look into, because before, I'm not sure if it was lack of information, lack of understanding, or maybe they just didn't trust technology as much. But as you can tell, the flushing toilet, or what's this one over here, the running water, it took such a long time to adopt, from the 1880s. I don't think anyone was still alive back then that I know of anyway. But you can kind of tell here how all these appliances or all this technology took to become more mainstream. As you can tell here, one of the faster ones are the tablets. Uh, and the landline, you could tell, went down. I don't think anyone uses that anymore. If you see a payphone, then take a picture of it, because that's a relic that belongs in a museum. I'm sure in a couple of years, well, maybe more than a couple of years, but we may have these relic museums of phones that had like these dial-ups. The what is it? The it had like a wheel with like cutouts for all the numbers, and every time you wanted to dial, you had to talk to a connected line. You couldn't go far from wherever you were speaking from. And it's pretty funny how we've evolved. And sometimes it's good to look back and see where we came from, to kind of get an idea of where we could be heading to. So, as far as adoption, I'm bullish, as you can tell from the data. It's been increasing year over year. Even though we do have these market crashes and cycles, it's, to me, it's pretty normal. But let's talk about like the psychology of the market. So, normally these are market cycles, the psychology of it anyway. So they can be for housing, they can be used for financials, they can be used for stock market, crypto market. There's just so many different types of markets that this can be used for, and in business. um, so the main thing that I want you guys to focus on is the peak, and the pretty much the top and the bottoms. And the bottom is generally the place where you get the most pain. right here: anger, depression, disbelief, panic, and that that is generally the best time to accumulate, the best time to buy. Everyone over here thinks like it can never go to zero, it's gonna go to the moon, but it's difficult to tell where we are without looking at data. So let's try and see if we can find some data. So to get an idea, like I said, it's pretty easy to understand once you kind of lay it out, as far as the tops, the bottoms, the contraction, the expansion, and to a new high. So these happen in markets all the time. Nothing new here. But what I do want you guys to see is some of the data. The reason why I say the data is important is because when you know something, it can help reduce that fear that you may have. We tend to fear and we tend to be emotional about things we don't understand. And sometimes it's love, sometimes it's fear, and that can be used against you. It's just human nature, especially when we're not used to dealing things that we're used to, markets, investments, financials. We have a horrible financial literacy in the world in general, and that's something that I believe should change. So hopefully this helps you out, see some data, see some different points, and you can make your own assessment. None of this is financial advice. This is strictly for educational purposes, and this is stuff that I look at daily or every few days. So here's the Bitcoin. Obviously, we know it's gone from the bottom and it's raised. Where are we now? Like 37,000, approximately around there. So it came from nothing, and now it's gone up this high. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe every market is manipulated, whether it's stocks, whether it's bonds, whether it's commodities such as like gold, whether it's crypto, whereas housing potentially. And if you say no, that I don't know if you guys know, lumber went up about like 200%, and that is not normal. Also, that is not due to inflation, I believe, but the data helps you kind of analyze and position yourself, or potentially position yourself, in a better situation. So let's look at the data real quick. As you can see, normally we have our bottoms come in around the orange area. This one you can't really tell since this was the beginning. We had a double cycle on this time around, which I'll show you the data for it. So, or a double top, I should say, sorry. Double top for that cycle. So anyway, generally, where you see the orange point is generally like our new low for the following cycle. Then it goes back up, and you see another orange point for that cycle as well. And you go back up, and this is around the area that we're currently at. So if the cycle repeats itself, which generally I think it will, and the reason I say that is because once you break a trend, it can devastate the growth of that. And the thing that I find amazing is that I don't see crypto or Bitcoin or any of these, well, not all of them, but many of these coins I believe will be here. Most of them I believe will not be here, but more than we think. There's a lot of use cases, and just like there is fiat currency, we may have crypto that either they're used for functionality, they're used for transaction, they're used for different types of utility, different types of ways to remove the middlemen, bankers, maybe insurance policies, different types of forms of payment and transactions. So this is a really good way to see like where you could be in the long term. So let's say we topped off around the green. We didn't even hit orange yet, so we might not even be at our low for next year, or I'm sorry, next cycle. So as you can tell here, if you would have just held Bitcoin, which many of you guys know if you guys are following me, then you would have made more money now than when you originally sold, just by holding. So as you can tell, a lot of people come in for the quick buck, but it's not easy money. The psychological aspect will test you. It is very, very demanding. I've gone through it since 2017. I've seen my funds go from growth from like, what was it, maybe 100% growth to like negative 95% and come back up. But during that time, I was not just waiting around or trying to be fearful. I was trying to learn, trying to understand the tech, and that strengthened my conviction in the growth of this asset class. So, aside from me telling you all this stuff, you should always do your own research. I think that's the best way to combat any FUD, any misinformation, and you know, Bitcoin and crypto in general is you being responsible for your own finances, not having a bank control where your money goes or telling you what to do in the future. That may be possible, but I've personally experienced what it's like to manage your own financials, and I don't think I'm going back. So let's look at the data here as well. So this is the live chart for the Bitcoin rainbow chart. All this stuff can be found online. All this is just data. So as you can tell here, we generally reach the maximum point at red. And here's the double cycle or double top that I was telling you about. So we go up and then we come back down and then we go back up. And this was actually one cycle. This was a very tough way to make money because we didn't have previous data. Now we have some data so we can kind of like go off of it. Then we had this massive bottom where Bitcoin reached $543 and then it shot back up all the way to about 20K. And then we had this massive down again. And then we are currently at around 135K. But to get an idea, we may be somewhere in between these two cycles of growth. So the reason why I'm not worried about is because there's a lot of people that share great information. So if you don't have a Twitter or if you're not looking at useful information such for maybe on YouTube or there's some on Instagram, but generally I would say Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, great people to get information from. This chart was originally I was able to see this chart through what's his name, Conquers Trading. You know, great way to stay up to date with the markets. And I know it's not easy for everybody to try and understand this stuff, so I'll try and break it down as easy as I can. I don't like telling people what to do, and you shouldn't become accustomed to that because you will always follow someone till, like, you know, jumping off a cliff, and you never know when that's going to happen. So the best thing I can do is try and understand the market yourself. Anything you do, don't just take people's word for it. Do your own research and position yourself to the best of your ability, not to someone else's positioning style. So here's a quick price halving tracker, which kind of has taken the data after halving from 2012. And you can see it here. Here's the top, and then here we have a bottom, and then we have another top. So this is the double top cycle back in 2012 to 2013. And then we had our last one here back in 2016, 2017, which is the green one, as you can tell. So you can see kind of how the patterns are. They're very similar. So this one we had a peak, then we had a drop, and this one we didn't have the peak, but now it seems like we're having a nasty drop. And as you can tell, the movements are pretty similar. And if this is the price range compared, so it's been trading between the early 2012, 2013 and 2016, 2017 cycles. So our expected growth would be somewhere within this range. Of course, anything can happen. We do not have a crystal ball. We just try and analyze data and understand things the best we can to our abilities and make the best judgment calls. So here's another chart by Willy Woo. Generally, we see massive bottoms here before a price run up, and this is one of the indicators. I'm not going to tell you what it specifically means, but generally this is what it is. You can always Google any terminology you see. So pretty much it tells you like very very important areas to take a look at, because these may have been the bottom, like, and from here it shows like the bottom areas. So back in 2013, 2014, we had a bottom, then we shot up. And let's check up another area. This is during the bull cycle. So 2017 to 2018, we had a bottom here, then it shot up. Then we had a bottom here, 2018. So these areas tell you the greatest change in price. And generally that leads to a movement in one way or the other. So this is a great indicator from Willy Woo. Then the thing that's very not concerning, but things that people need to understand is that all markets are manipulated. So you should definitely do your own research all the time, because I personally believe that we are just surfers trying to catch the wave. We do not push, for the majority of people, we do not push markets one way or the other. So before the market dipped, we actually had the greatest influx of Bitcoin to exchanges the previous day. And that helped crash the market because you had to have a lot of coins to sell in order for you to move the price one way or the other. And then once the price dropped, the following day it was picked up. Is that normal? Hell no. As you can tell, like, this is more normal readings. That is not normal. These huge movements in the market, it happens in different markets. Since the crypto market is such a small market, though, compared to the trillions that we have trading on stocks and brokerages, it's easier to put to move the prices up or down. So this is something to keep in mind. Like, I can't tell you for 100% that it's market manipulation, but it looks like market manipulation. So where are we right now? What's going on with Bitcoin? For you guys that are not familiar with this is a Wyckoff pattern. I hate this pattern. I've had to deal with it last year with another crypto. And it's difficult to catch because the price movement is very erratic. So you're trying to figure out what's going on, and you have to be an amazing investor to catch this. So it's a great point of reference because you can see how it lines up. So you can get an idea. This is pretty much the market psychology. What this guy did, Wyckoff, I believe he was a trader in the 1800s, who analyzed the markets of like greatest return potential. And that's when he saw he analyzed how people function psychologically during market moves. And he took that same psychology and he created his type of chart or type of movement. And you can actually look this up. It's the Wyckoff events and phases. It's a distribution type of chart. So if this actually plays out like it's been playing out, so you can tell here, it lines up pretty perfectly in my opinion, then that means the institutions are probably involved and they're pushing people using this psychological phase to accumulate more Bitcoin. So it's interesting to see this happen again because I just saw this last year, but it's difficult to pick up while it's going on because you don't see all that information. You get parts of it. So you're just trying to analyze things the best you can. Sometimes it's good to pull back, whether it's in business or whether it's a venture, and then just kind of reflect on the overall markets, because everything is linked together one way or another. And finding those links are key to positioning yourself better or positioning yourself at the right time. A lot of people think it's luck, and maybe luck does have a part to do with it. But if you position yourself ahead of the times, then that luck may not be as much needed as where you were at the right place at the right time, or maybe you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like if you would have bought Bitcoin back when it was 10,000 in 2017, you might have considered yourself being unlucky or being lucky. You never know what happens in life. So all you do is you take it a day at a time. And today or this week has been not such a great week. However, the reason I am still bullish, one, because of the indicators that we see as far as our previous Bitcoin cycles. This is the stock to flow chart. And as you can tell, like, I don't mind holding here. If it just flattens out, I don't mind holding here because I think we are maybe near the next cycle top, or we are at the bottom. I'm sorry, next cycle bottom, or we are, just getting started, which I believe we are personally. But like I said, this is not financial advice. You do the best that you think for you and your family. Same thing here. These are just normal market movements to try and shake people out. As you can tell here, it looks like it wants to go back up. We'll see what happens. It's very tough to predict these markets. So we just try and analyze the best we can. But aside from the charts, here's more data that I want you guys to take a look at. This is from Trading Economics. You can find out how everyone's doing on a global scale. Now, there's a couple of people that I want you, or a couple of countries that I want you to take a look at. One of them is China, with an inflation rate of about 0.90. So that's less than 1% inflation. Hong Kong, 0.70. The Arabs are -2. That's crazy. So they're appreciating in value. So is Japan, but everyone else is in an inflationary type of economy right now. Now, what's a little concerning is how we are always in like the mid-range, not just in financials, but also in education and also in like so many things. But we pride ourselves, or we say we are the best of the best, but I don't know that maybe that's a separate conversation. But for now, I just want you to take a look at our inflation, which is 4.20 that was just released. And I believe their expectations were 3.6% inflation. So me, this tells me that they're not able to control inflation as well as they think they can, or as well as they say they can. And then you have countries over here. I know there's some people from the Philippines. So 4.50 is the Philippines. And as it goes down, it just gets worse. Mexico, 6.08%. And 11%. Then you're getting into the double digits. It's pretty bad. Turkey, I know they've been having a lot of issues with their government, with inflation. Their currency is devaluing pretty badly. And there's a lot of problems over there, political, financial, just economy. The economy is pretty bad. Nigeria, and then once you're over here in these extremely red zones, 46%, 49%, 3,000% is crazy inflation. So if you don't think this could happen to us, just remember we're about somewhere in the middle. And we can go either way. However, due to the amount of debt we have and the growth, I do not think it'll go down personally. Like I said, always do your own research. Try and position yourself how you believe is best for you and your family. But to me, I would personally rather buy assets and commodities that can protect myself against inflation. So, yes. Bitcoin is a risky opportunity. Yes, we may be early. How fast it'll be adopted, it'll probably speed up with time. This is just how adaptation works. People will become more accustomed to it. The systems will become easier. You have these markets that will try and wreck you. And you just have to make the best decision you can. Like, It's not easy to navigate these waters. It is not easy. It'll test you for sure. But but there is an immense opportunity if you're willing to take the risk, and if you can manage it properly, then you should be fine. However, for the majority of people, we are not accustomed to these types of movements. So it's something you have to build up. At least for me, that's something I had to build up. And hopefully this data helps you out. And some of the people that I recommend you follow is you have, well, you can follow me on Twitter if you want. But Willy Woo, great charts indicator. You have the Bitcoin chart. You have the stock to flow model. You also have, where did I leave it? Well, you can follow him on Twitter too. I should have it on this one. JCL Capital, which is one of the guys that does Conquers Trading on YouTube. Definitely recommend you check him out. I know it's a lot of info to process, but hopefully it helps you out. And that is it for today. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Remember, markets go up and down. That's all it is. Markets go up and down. So a time to be fearful, and there's a time to be greedy. Warren Buffett said, when people are greedy, it's time to be fearful. And when people are fearful, it's time to be greedy. Or something like that, right? Anyway, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you at the next chat. Peace.